We need to, did you guys?
I'll kind of walk around.
Yeah, so just say no report back. Oh, let me call Kevin. Let me call Kevin.
Guys ready? Okay. All right, I'm going to call back to order. Attorney Ennis, do we have anything to report out?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had 2 items of closed session, and we have no reportable and final action to report. That concludes my announcement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, good evening. I would like to call our regular city council meeting back to order at 7:10. Let's start with the invocation, Councilmember Jennings, and we'll follow it by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thanks. If you all would please rise. Our Father, we thank you tonight for the benefit of public service. We thank you for all that you've done in so many varied and different ways to take care of those that are in such desperate need right now. We pray for peace for those in mourning. We pray for comfort for those in need. And we ask that you be with us as we make decisions tonight affecting our great city. We thank you for the work of those who are reporting every day and doing the hard work to keep our society alive. And we are thankful for them. And we thank you for what you do for that. Be with us tonight and through the rest of this week in your name. Amen.
Councilmember Genoway, would you do the pledge?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go into public communications. Any person wishing to address the city council on any matter, whether or not it appears on the agenda, is required to submit their comments to the city clerk via email at egomez@cityoflagunagal.org. Comments will be accepted continuously during the meeting via email and via the YouTube live stream. All comments received prior to discussion of the agenda item will be read into the record up to the time limit of 3 minutes. Any portion of the comment not read aloud due to time restrictions will still be included in the record. The City of Laguna Niguel thanks you in advance for taking all precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes, Mayor. I'll read them, the 2 of them one at a time. I'm setting the timer for the 3 minutes. By Mel Siegel, Laguna Niguel resident, 10 Danford Avenue. I have designed and installed surgical sterilization environments for many years, and we presently have a large problem with public restrooms, particularly in restaurants. I would like to bring this to your attention. This enclosed letter is in no way meant to impose a costly, insignificant regulation on anyone, but to correct something that should have been done long ago. The problem is transmission of diseases contracted in public restrooms. Believe me, it happens every day due to current and adequate accepted guidelines and their enforcement. I feel the inspection department does a good job with their checklist for safety in our restaurants. However, we have a large gap in our current safety checks that is meaningful. The enclosed letter will explain. I feel that concepts should be included in our health inspector's checklist to rate and approve operation of businesses. If you consult any physician, you will find he/she will agree with their suggestions. If we do not use the outline, we will continue to infect numerous individuals using public establishment, including sports stadiums, etc., big numbers. Please elevate my message in this enclosed letter. I would appreciate a response after you have had time to consider the content. Just to let you know, I have no financial involvement if these guidelines are made active. I hope we will understand this shortcoming and take corrective action. This guideline will prove to be more important than some of the regulations we currently enforce. After you have read page 2, reflect if you have been in these environments as described, you have been subject to infection of one or more communicable diseases. Were you just lucky, or did you get a cold or the flu? Maybe another disease. That's the end of that comment.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel.
The second is by Jane Rose. She did not indicate if she was a resident. I have been thinking about the safety in place orders across America, and where I have landed is that the economic destruction is indeed worse than the disease. It is a tragedy when anyone dies of a disease, but for all of the people living who are losing their life savings, who have lost businesses they have built over a lifetime, you don't know how they will feed themselves or their kids, who won't be able to afford to send their kids to college. That is a fate worse than death. Personally, if my death from COVID-19 means the local coffee shop owner can feed his family and raise his kids, it's a worthy sacrifice. As a Christian, death is not just an end, but a beginning. And the Bible states there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for his friends. There are safe ways to open up the economy and to minimize death while knowing there may be more of it. There are always trade-offs, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution. So let's consider also those who must live and reopen our beautiful city of Laguna Niguel. Respectfully, Jane Rose.
Thank you, Ms. Rose.
And that concludes the public communications.
Thank you very much. We'll then close public communications. We're going to move on to the consent calendar. We've got items 1 through 7. Do any of the council members want to pull or comment on any of the items?
Mayor Davies, I need to abstain from item number 6, which is the approval of the stream bed alteration agreement for wetlands operation and maintenance plan due to the proximity of my residence.
Thank you. Any other council members?
Comments on 4 and 5.
Move the balance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? Oppose? Moving on. We'll go ahead to item number 4. Councilmember Rains.
The reason I pulled this item is it's an updated investment policy report from our finance director. Sorry, I was just like, the report shows that we have a difference of a decrease of $1,708,846. I just wanted to say that our policy is very strictly regulated on how we invest our money. So this was an intentional project and approval of our city to invest in capital projects for our city. So we continue to keep our city safe, and it does not reflect a loss in market. So I think it's important for our residents to know that, and that's all. And so with that, I'll move the item.
Do you have a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Item moved.
And then,
Councilmember Rains, item 5.
and then on number 5, I just wanted to say I've been down to this beautiful bridge and I've walked it with the 3 Forbes LLC. They've showed me the bridge and it's done quite nicely. And I think that gateway area is going to turn out to become a beautiful second part of our city in a different way. But with the park going in soon after, I think that we'll find that it's going to be a beautiful addition to our city. So I just wanted to mention that it is, and it's a very well-built bridge, by the way. So anyhow, with that, I'll move it.
Do you have a second? Second with Councilmember Genoese. All in favor?
Yes,
Aye.
aye.
Any abstain or oppose? Item moved. Thank you very much. We're now going to go into public hearing. Our first discussion item is public hearing item number 1. This is a public hearing to consider the draft community development block grant 5-year consolidated plan for the fiscal year of 2020 to 2024. The citizens participation plan, the 2020-24 Orange County analysis of impediments to fair housing choice and the annual action plan for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Community Development Director Orduña, please provide a staff report. Or,
Mr. Junior is not here tonight, so I will be giving the staff report.
thank you, appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The 5-year consolidated plan establishes goals and priorities for use of CDBG funds. The goals in this draft plan are like past plans and prioritize funding for infrastructure projects, public service providers, services for those at risk of homelessness, and fair housing services. The draft annual action plan is a major component of the consolidated plan and establishes funding for specific projects that are in line with the goals and priorities established in the consolidated plan. For fiscal year 2020-2021, the city will receive a little over $300,000. The funding allocations are split between public service providers, administration, and infrastructure projects. The city received 5 applications from public service providers and 1 for fair housing services. All applicants have previously received CDBG funds from the city and operated successful programs. On February 25th, the members of the Grants Ad Hoc Committee, Mayor Pro Tem Fred Miniger and Councilmember John Mark Jennings, held a public meeting to consider the applications and make funding recommendations to the City Council. Those recommendations appear on the slide that will appear shortly. Staff recommends that the City Council open the public hearing and receive comments, consider the draft plans, and direct that the draft plans with any changes be placed on the May 19th, 2020 City Council agenda for final approval. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from our council members? Seeing none, we're going to move to the public hearing. It's now open to receive testimony from the public. City Clerk Gomez, are there any public comments on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I received 4 comments. The first one is from Andrew Nero, Program Manager with Camino Health Center. Camino Health Center is a nonprofit community health center that provides affordable, quality primary health care to the low-income and underserved in South Orange County. We are a federally qualified health care center with a board of directors that consists of health center patients and service professionals. Camino's services include medical, dental, behavioral health, optometry, and a women, infants, and children, which is WIC, nutritional program. We have 3 clinics in the cities of Lake Forest, San Juan Capistrano, and San Clemente. Having 3 locations allows the residents of Laguna Niguel easier access to our services by having multiple locations where they can receive care. In fiscal year 2019, 10% of Camino Health Center patients were residents of Laguna Niguel. 92% of these individuals fell into the extremely low income category. Most recently, in fiscal year 2019, we provided 4,903 visits to 1,703 Laguna Niguel residents. The CDBG funding we seek from the City of Laguna Niguel for fiscal year 2021 will be used to offset the rent expenses associated with our San Juan Capistrano Clinic. Thank you for considering to continue to fund Camino Health Center. The second one is from the Kennedy Commission, Cesar Covarrubias, the Executive Director. The Kennedy Commission is a broad-based coalition of residents and community organizations that advocates for the production of homes affordable for families earning less than $20,000 annually in Orange County. Formed in 2001, the Commission has been successful in partnering and working with Orange County jurisdictions to create effective housing and land use policies that has led to the new construction of homes affordable to lower-income working families. We have reviewed the Laguna Niguel draft 5-year consolidated plan for the fiscal year 2024 and recommend a strong focus on affordable housing. Pages 20 through 30 support the finding that most prevalent housing issue in Laguna Niguel is affordability. A total of 5,050 households experience one or more housing problems, such as lacking kitchens or complete plumbing, severe overcrowding, and severe cost burden. Among owner households, extremely low income, large households, very low income, other households, and low income small households are paying more than 30% of income towards housing. And they gave percentages. According to this HUD data provided in Table 10, 43.2% of all extremely low income renter households and 41.4% of owner households are severely housing cost burdened. Among renter households, extremely low income small related households and extremely low income large related owner households are most impacted. This housing problem is an issue for both renters and owners, but the most impacted are extremely low income renter and owner households, which are also at risk of becoming homeless. As mentioned in tables 17 through 20, low-income Black, African Americans, and Hispanic households are disproportionately impacted by severe housing problems among the different income categories. At the very low-income levels, American Indians, Alaska Natives have the highest percentage of households experiencing a housing cost burden. At the low-income level, Hispanics have the highest rate of housing cost burden households. According to an estimate of SCAG RENA allocation based on regional council-approved final RENA methodology, Laguna Niguel will need 347 very low income and 201 low income units for the 6th RENA cycle. We ask that the city prioritize the housing needs of large families of very low and extremely low income who encounter difficulties in finding decent, affordable housing during the current and the upcoming planning period. The Commission looks forward to partnering with the city to create an increase and preserve affordable homes for lower income households in the city. The next one is from South County Outreach, Laura Fisher. South County Outreach's offices and food pantry are centrally located in South Orange County to provide hunger and homeless prevention assistance to the maximum number of residents, including many members of the Laguna Niguel community in need of safety net services. The City of Laguna Niguel has been an extremely supportive partner of ours, providing CDBG and community services funding to South County Outreach for more than 15 years. Our president and CEO, Laura Fisher, is a Laguna Niguel resident, as is our current board chairperson, our former board president, and 3 other members of our board of directors. And one of 17 transitional housing condominiums owned and managed by South County Outreach is in the city of Laguna Niguel. This funding will continue our partnership with the city to provide homeless prevention services to Laguna Niguel residents in the form of rental assistance, utility assistance, free nutritious groceries, and case management to help area residents obtain self-sufficiency. Our goal for CDBG 2019-2020 funding was to serve 204 Laguna Niguel residents, a goal we surpassed only halfway through the fiscal year and could possibly double by the end of June. So far, South County Outreach has assisted 303 unduplicated Laguna Niguel residents. We received many calls for rental and utility assistance from Laguna Niguel residents inquiring about short-term financial intervention that can help them bridge the gap between financial self-sufficiency and housing stability. During the 2019 calendar year, South County Outreach received 72 calls from Laguna Niguel households facing eviction or disconnection of vital utilities. Last month, South County Outreach received calls from 60% more Laguna Niguel residents inquiring about rental assistance than we received in April 2019, and we anticipate those seeking homelessness prevention will increase even more in the upcoming months when eviction and rental increase moratoriums are lifted by the state. In the previous CDBG program year, with the funding allocated by the City of Laguna Niguel as well as other sources, South County Outreach was only able to help 18 of the city's residents avoid eviction and subsequent homelessness. But last year, 5 South County Outreach clients reported as homeless, with Laguna Niguel as their last city of residence, making prevention services even more crucial to helping put an end to homelessness in California. We are committed to expanding our reach and supporting the people of Laguna Niguel, especially in these times of economic uncertainty, and continue to focus not only on numbers served, but also on the impact on each and every client who reaches out for help from our agency. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to partner once again with the City of Laguna Niguel in preventing homelessness through our combined efforts to uplift the community's most vulnerable residents and help them achieve self-sufficiency. And I think those are all the comments that I received this evening.
All right, public hearing is now closed. Council members, discussion, comments? Councilmember Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor Davies. All of the organizations that have been applied for and recommended to be funded are ones that have served our community members for many years, and we're very well aware of the good work that they do and the services that they provide. And the services provided are needed now more than ever. So I am glad to see that we are able to, that we do receive the CDBG funding to be able to provide to these organizations, and know they will continue to serve our residents well. And I thank the members of the ad hoc committee for bringing this forward to us.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Councilmember Jennings?
Only that it was our pleasure on behalf of myself and the Mayor Pro Tem to do that. And with that, I would make a motion to approve the item.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Here we go. To approve the staff's recommendation and direct that the 5-year consolidated plan for the fiscal year 2020 to 2024, the Citizens Participation Plan, the 2020-2024 Orange County Analysis of Impediment to Fair Housing Choices, the Annual Action Plan for fiscal year 2020-2021, with any changes be placed on the May 19th, 2020 City Council meeting agenda. So I've got a first, I've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Moving on. Thank you. All right, our next item is City Manager item number 1, and that is a financial impact of COVID-19 on the City of Laguna Niguel. City Manager Letourneau, please provide a staff report.
Thank you so much. Mayor and members of the council, as you're aware, there's been severe financial impacts to the city as a result of COVID-19. I want to share some details about that with you. Almost every general fund revenue source the city relies on has been negatively impacted by this pandemic. The projected revenue loss for fiscal year 1920 is estimated to be at least $1.6 million from a combination of a loss of sales tax, parks and recreation revenue, and community development fees. For fiscal year 2021, the projected general fund revenue is estimated to be $40.8 million, which is $2.8 million reduction in general fund revenues from fiscal year 1819. To date, we have not received any reimbursements from the federal, state, or county governments to cover the cost of our emergency, but we are seeking reimbursement from FEMA and as well as CARES Act 4, which is in discussion. They're in discussions right now regarding that. Because of this significant revenue loss, we immediately took steps to reduce our expenditures. One of the significant challenges about losing so much revenue is the time of year in which it's occurred. We're in the last quarter of our fiscal year when the majority of our expenditures we've already spent that money, and so we had to take what I consider a long list of what referred to as drastic steps to immediately cut our expenses, and I'm going to go through those. For fiscal year 1920, we authorized spending on essential services only immediately upon declaring an emergency. Attachment A in your staff report shows 4 CIP projects that we continued with as planned, 3 projects that were delayed and were delayed until the next fiscal year, 7 projects that were partially completed or put on hold until additional funding becomes available, and 19 projects that we put on hold immediately. Sadly, we've had to furlough 106 part-time employees, and we put a hiring freeze on our vacant positions. The preliminary fiscal year 2021 budget will be released later this week, and we have a budget study session scheduled for May 26th. The goal of the fiscal year 2021 budget was to reduce expenditures to meet our new reduced revenues without the use of reserves, with the exception of 2 projects, the completion of the community center and the Crown Valley widening project, and we have been able to do that. In order to operationally balance the budget, we've had to do the following. For both public health and fiscal reasons, we've canceled the July 4th celebrations, the summer concerts, and the carnival that was planned for the summer of 2020. Every department has taken a reduction in their budget. I've taken a voluntary 5% salary reduction. The department heads voluntarily agreed to defer all merit increases and the planned 2.5% salary increase for January of 2021. And there's been a reduction in full-time positions from 69 to 62. There was a typo in the staff report. It is 62. That's a reduction of 7 full-time positions. Even though we've been able to balance the budget, it is possible that additional reductions in expenditures may be necessary if actual revenues come in lower than projections. Staff plans to present the council with quarterly budget reviews for the next year as the situation continues to evolve. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennings.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I only wanted to get some insight on the methodology used to project out the losses, if you could. And then I don't want to get too far in the weeds on that, but I just want to understand where they're attributable to, what type of hedge was built into that, and are we fairly certain that that's right, or are we not?
Yeah. So the largest loss obviously is sales tax by the shutting down of our economy. We have a excellent sales tax consultant, HDL, which has been with the city for years. And immediately when this occurred, we were in conversations with them. They were working on their models. They represent many cities in California. And so we're fast and furiously putting together very detailed projections. But as the timeline in which, if you'll recall in the beginning, we didn't know, we thought maybe it would be shut down for a few weeks and things would start to come back. So we had some initial projections from them, but as it became clear that the economy would not be reopening as soon as we projected, the conversation started again, and they continued to be refined. And they are incredibly detailed reports, and we are confident that the numbers that we've been provided are good, and our projections are good. They are very conservative revenue estimates. We'd like to be there. We hope that they come in higher than what we've projected. We've been in a dialogue, and the county's been great. The county treasurer providing us information regarding property tax and where we stand. Typically, we've been trending on an increase in our property tax. We did not plan for an increase in property tax based upon what we know. So it comes from consulting those that have a lot of information and very detailed reports. We've spent a lot of time on our revenue assumptions in the budget, and we are hopeful and cautiously optimistic that we've hit it right.
Great. Thank you very much. I didn't have any further questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Miniger.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of quick questions, Tammy. The first one is, as we know, the sales tax, the 0.5% sales tax that we get from OCTA under the Measure M2 is going to be having some shortcomings. So the potential negative ramification of that on the 4 remaining projects that we have that I noticed is top on the list, that we as a municipal corporation, we would be continuing with, that would be 2 signal sync programs under OCTA, and the other 2 are street improvement programs that most likely either they come from ASIP, Highway Safety Improvement Program, or other funding sources. So short to the point on my first question, any shortfalls on that, or they are 100% fully funded?
I don't have the budget in front of me for next fiscal year. I'm going to ask our finance director if he could provide some information, because I didn't bring those detailed sheets.
So yes, as Measure M is sales tax based, we do project to take a hit on that as well. For instance, we have reduced our projects for next year. Which one did you specifically?
The first 4, there are 2 signal sync programs. One is on Alicia Parkway, and the second one is on Alicia Creek Road. And the other 2 safety resurfacing programs. Two of them happen to be on Nigal Road that we are moving forward
Yeah,
with those.
the Alicia Parkway traffic, both traffic signal synchronization projects are funded by our AQMD monies, which is a separate pot of funds than our Measure M monies. Although the OCTA is taking the lead on this, we are using our AB 2766 funds from AQMD to pay OCTA for those traffic signal synchronization projects.
From cap and trade.
Those are
program.
from motor vehicle license
Oh, I
fees
see. Okay.
that AQMD collects for clean air projects. And then the Niguel Road, both of those projects are funded by gas tax funds from the state. So all of the old gas tax funds from the Highway Users Transportation Act and the new SB1 funds are paying for those design projects for both of the Niguel Road items.
Very good. Thank you. And then my second question for Tammy is that what are the trends on the number of permits being issued by the city pre-COVID-19 and after COVID-19?
I don't have the specific numbers in front of me. I can tell you that as a result of COVID-19, we went to about half the permits that we're used to getting. So we've definitely, and that's been taken into account in the estimated projections that you for this current fiscal year. But we're hopeful. We've kept all of our essential services. Staff has done a tremendous job of keeping everything going and keeping the industries working, and those who wanted to take out permits. We were able to accommodate that. So we're hopeful when things open up again that we're going to see an increase in those permits in next year.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilmember Rains?
First of all, I want to thank you and the staff because I know these are not easy times and we really appreciate all of the sacrifices that you've made of your time and being away from your families to make sure that you're serving our community. That's quite commendable for all of our staff that is doing that. So I really appreciate all of you. And it's obvious that you care about our city based on the sacrifices that you're making. My question is, there's a lot of building that has been going on in our city as the Gateway Project and some other things that have already been in place and working. So has that been delayed as a result of COVID-19, or are those projects continuing to move forward? As obviously they don't come out of our budget, but are they continuing to still move forward?
They are, but things are slowing.
Okay.
And we're starting to see things come back. It definitely slowed in the first few weeks, and now we're starting to see it, but it's very, very slow. So there are certain things that were in the planning stages that developers reached out to us in the beginning and said, I want to put a pause for a minute. Let me rethink what's going on here. But things that were in construction, and those things are still moving. But just as, everyone's workforce was impacted and across the board. And so, but we are definitely seeing things come back, and people are hopeful that they can start moving again at a quicker pace. But we've done everything we can from a city's point of view to help them, if they wanted to move forward, to continue to move forward.
Okay, and just a follow-up question. So as a result of that, are we looking, have we heard anything regarding our RENA numbers, and will that affect that going down the road because of the delay, or will we still be receiving the same numbers? And maybe my colleague, Mayor Pro Tem, might be able to answer that as well, but it's just something that I'm curious about if you've heard anything.
The latest information I have is those numbers stand and nothing's changed.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct. At this juncture, no decision has been made. There is a board meeting on this upcoming Thursday that remains to be seen. Out of 80 some RC members, how they are going to be voting on that to approve or to ratify basically what's been presented to the SCAG board of directors. But the numbers stand as they are.
Okay,
Councilmember Genoway?
yes, thank you, Mayor. I had a number of questions regarding specific projects, and City Manager Letourneau answered those in our meeting earlier today. So thank you very much for following up on that and providing that information. And I would just like to say thank you to the whole city team, because it is a team, it is a family. A lot of extra work has been done, and also done in a different way where many of you are not here at City Hall, but working remotely. So just know that your work is appreciated.
I'd like to piggyback on that as well. I want to thank staff. The fact that we were able to balance this with the loss of revenue without having to go into reserves says a lot about not only how conservative and good stewards we have been for many years. So I appreciate that. And I think we were lucky too that the timing, most of the property taxes were in, especially through escrow. Obviously, the sales taxes we are still waiting on, and it'll be interesting to see, how much we actually get, how much people are going to hold off on as much as they can. So again, a lot of this is uncertainty, not knowing what these numbers are. So thank you very much for doing such a great job. All right, can I have a motion to approve staff's recommendation and receive and file report?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Thank you. Moving on. All right, that concludes our discussion items. So we will now move on to council reports and city manager report. I'll start out with Mayor Jennings.
Great.
Sorry, Mayor Jennings. How about
Well
Councilmember
done.
Jennings? I was getting a little lonely up here,
Back to the future.
I was starting to take it personal that I'm the only one up here. I'm like,
Well, thank you very much for the promotion again. It's well received. I was saving my praise for the staff for these comments, and I want to say with a very full heart that I understand what sacrifice looks like because I've watched it in the efforts given by our city staff. We have a tremendous team on board that's not assembled by accident. It's on purpose, and it's been improving since the day I first sat on this. I was going to say on this dais, but I'm not sitting on a dais today. So a huge congratulations to you all for all that you've done. Weathering these storms is not easy. It takes a furtive effort, and I greatly appreciate it. To the employees that were the subject of the furlough, I want to say thank you to them as well. The report that we got from that was a tidal wave of gratitude from them. I am humbled by the servant spirit that seems to permeate the people that work in this city. And that meant so much to me to hear those stories. And I can't wait for full coffers to prevail so that we can bring them back on. We live in a time where desperation and our core principles of liberty are intersecting in a way that we can't fully understand. And certainly we've never explored before. I think as elected leaders, we have seen a division and acrimony created by this conflict up close, and it has indeed been what I might call a very personal experience. What we have truly learned from all of this may not be known for some time to come, but it is indeed clear that thus far a global pandemic reveals something about our true nature, and that the things that define our core principles become more known. Those revelations have played out in so many ways, from politics to personal space, from beaches to backyards, and face coverings to freedoms. And I truly can't think of a single facet of public life that's been left untouched by the events of the past several months. In the final analysis, I desire only for these actions during these times to represent the best of ourselves, giving rise to new hope for all that is to come. As for California's leaders, their best shows preference for solving issues with a single purported solution rather than targeting those solutions in the many and varying needs across California. At my core, I believe those decisions are best made by those who are the very closest to the voters. Your city council is comprised of your neighbors and your friends. We answer to you, and our proximity to both you and the issues gives us the access that you need to your elected representatives. That is not the case at the state level. What is abundantly clear is that one size never fits all, and that much of the angst and hand-wringing we've seen in Sacramento could have easily been resolved by allowing the local leaders of the state to handle these important decisions in the way that best fits their community. Balance and sensibility are lost at such a macro level. When pot dispensaries are open but churches are closed, I have real questions about certain priorities. When big box stores can sell every manner of product imaginable, but local retail stores are closed, I understand nothing about the why behind these policies. I fully support the need for all of us to continue doing all that is possible to stem the tide of this infuriating pandemic. But I also realize our critical need to ensure that the lives we left behind are still there and waiting for us when we return in the not so hopefully apocalyptic future. There are massive swaths of middle ground here that need to be explored immediately to keep people safe while keeping our economy strong. These are not zero-sum games, and everyone has the chance to win. And this is a balancing act, which I find far too lacking at the state level. I fully support the efforts of our sister cities in both asserting and defending their rights against the overreach of the state, and believe that the state's recent acquiescence regarding the beaches is due in great part to the voices of the people and their local elected leaders standing up for what seems to be, in my view at least, patently correct. Finally, I want to say thank you to everyone in Laguna Niguel for all they've done to flatten our curve and to take care of one another. I have witnessed tremendous acts of kindness and generosity these past many weeks and know with certainty that our hope is built on the promises of our collective tomorrows. We are indeed all in this together, and together we will return to those tomorrows that we knew so many short weeks ago. I thank you for all that you're all doing. I thank my council colleagues for all that they are doing. Their sacrifices are noted and appreciated, and I look forward to the Laguna Niguel that we left behind. It's just around the corner. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Jennings, for those remarks. When I conveyed my appreciation for our city staff and our city family a few minutes ago, I sincerely appreciated that because they're the ones that are bringing us through this. We are the policy makers, but they're the ones that put into action the policies that are set forth by this city council. You know, I've said it many times and I'll say it again, Laguna Niguel is remarkable. Over the last 2 months, Laguna Niguel residents, along with the rest of our nation and world, have been through a very challenging time. One where things that we had previously taken for granted, such as our security and our health, our ability to pay our bills, sending our children to school, or our freedom to enjoy recreational or fitness activities, all those have come into question. And we are not yet at the end of this challenging time. And while we know things will be different when we are making plans as to how to navigate the stages or phases. In this city, we have been and will continue to be proactively working for the health and safety of our entire community. You know, I want to make some personal comments here. You know, I understand very well the concerns of our business community. I know what the loss of a business does to a family. Excuse me. I will never forget the day that my dad came home. Oh, I didn't think this would be so emotional. That my dad came home after locking the doors of Reseda Lighting for the last time. That was our family business that went under during a recession. When Dad came home, he didn't come in through the front door like usual. He went around to the back, sat on the back step, and cried. And that was the first time I ever saw my father cry. He said it was like abandoning a child that he had raised. The next time I saw him cry was decades later when Mom passed away. I know what it's like to have the family's primary wage earner laid off. Several years ago, my husband was laid off. Man, this wasn't supposed to be emotional. I'm sorry. I know the questions, the anxiety, and the changes that it can bring to the family dynamics. That year, we frequently ate what I called Daddy's out-of-work dinner because it was a very cheap way to feed a family of 5. I never want to see a baked potato topped with chili again. As someone who has underlying respiratory conditions, I greatly appreciate all of our residents who have done what has been asked of us to reduce the spread of the virus and flatten the curve. I too feel your anxiety when I see large groups gathered without face masks, when we are still learning so much about this virus. As a second-generation American whose grandparents came to this country for the freedoms and rights protected by our Constitution, I have vowed to protect that Constitution and uphold my core values of limited government and local control. And I share these personal comments to convey to you an understanding of the different perspectives that I, as one of your elected leaders, bring to the decisions we make and the guidance provided. All of your city council members bring different perspectives to the decisions we make. I am dismayed by the politicization and polarization of such discourse can move us away from working together to come to the best solution as we seek a safe, responsible way to bring our communities back to their vitality. So to the remarkable Laguna Niguel residents that I love, I ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, use the city website and city social media posts as your source of information. We have incredible relationships with our community partners, and this is where you can find factual information, not opinions, not biased information, but the factual information that we can all navigate through this together. Number 2, please understand and recognize that our city has 66,847 residents. So we are taking into consideration all of our residents. So if you ask us for one thing, and I know we got an email from a person saying, basically demanding that we do this, and it ended with, because you work for me. Yes, we do work for you, but we also work for all the other 66,846 residents, and we need to consider all of them. So please understand that we have a large city, many residents and businesses to take into consideration. I also ask you to resist the temptation to chime in on speculative or negative social media posts. This just increases everyone's anxiety level, and that's not the solution. Working together with us is the solution. So instead of using your phone to post something, use it to call somebody and have a friendly conversation. You will have made someone else's day, and I guarantee that you too will feel better. So Laguna Niguel, keep being remarkable. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Rains.
I'll try not to get emotional because I really appreciate what you shared. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to start off with some stuff that's not mushy, and then maybe I won't cry when I do my mushy stuff. Just wanted to give some information out for our local business owners. If any of you are members of the State Compensation Insurance Fund, they are offering up to $10,000, which is 2 times your premium in grants right now. So if you are a member of our state insurance fund, please check that and make sure that you see if you're eligible for that. And I'll give you more information so you can post that on our site, Tammy. As well, many of my colleagues have said many of the things I wanted to say, but this month, normally we would be appreciating our teachers. It would be Teacher Appreciation Week. And it would also be Nurses Appreciation Week. And Emergency Medical Service Week and National Military and Armed and Police Appreciation. So we would be appreciating some of our most essential frontline workers that we right now are so grateful for all the work that they're doing. So I want to say, and I know that my colleagues will join in echoing that we appreciate each and every one of you for everything that you're doing, especially our teachers. I have my daughter home, and she's on the autism spectrum, and we're doing distance learning, which is completely different. A lot of her therapies aren't the same. And I know there's a lot of other families that are experiencing that same thing. And I just want to say thank you to the staff and teachers that are working so hard in the circumstance that they are to try to deliver those services. With that, I also want to mention that, this is Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, and so many of us with the change in routines, even those of us who don't have mental health are struggling because after a while of our normal life not being the same, we start to feel that. So I really want to say that in America today, 1 in 6 people is affected by some type of mental health. You're not alone. please don't try to do this alone. Please reach out for help. I am collecting several resources, and I'll make sure that our city staff gets that so they can add that to our website. But always you can call 211, and also there is an OC warm line, 714-991-6412, and that's through NAMI, which is another mental health organization. I just want to implore you, if you are struggling, please, please remember you're not alone, and this is not the time to try to if you need help, whether it's financial help to get the medicine that you need, or financial help to get the therapies that you need, please reach out, and we'll see what we can do. With that being said, my my mother was burned out of her home by communists 3 times as a young girl. She had nightmares, and she would wake up and sleepwalk at night and go down to the city to fill down to the town to fill her bucket with water to pour onto her house while she was sleepwalking. And my grandmother's faith is what helped her get through that, because she took her to every church in town and had her prayed over. And so today I echo my council colleagues' comments about our churches and our faith centers being closed, because when we struggle with things like this is the time that we need our faith the most. My parents also immigrated to this country, and I'm a first-generation American. And when they came here for a better, freer life. And so right now we are being put in places where many of us feel that anxiety of our freedom might not be as free as what we've come accustomed to living in this country. I want to encourage each of you to please stay strong and remember that we will safely restore our communities, and we are working hard to make that happen, because we all are looking at the same things. We're looking at our economy, we're looking at our health and safety of our community, and we're looking at the viability of making sure that we are able to sustain our continued lives as we know them. So I thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you, and just let you know we're here for you, and we are not going to back down. So we'll be here, and we'll be fighting to get our city back to what we know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Miniger?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Not to repeat all those eloquent comments that we heard from my colleagues, I'm very pleased and proud that in the midst of this historic COVID-19 pandemic, our great city of Laguna Niguel is able to stand strong to serve 66,000 plus residents. And above all, I'm also very pleased with our city manager by being able to basically balance the budget when I look at 34 or 33 other cities in Orange County, that most of them, a big chunk of them, are facing a lot of fiscal deficits, and they don't know what to do. Either they have to lay off a lot of people, or they have to cut a lot of services. So I'm very pleased that our citizens, our residents would not be facing those drastic decisions that other cities have to make. When I look at the state of California as a whole, 484 cities, again, our city, quite frankly, would be ranking on the top, that we can survive. It's never happened like this in the history of this country, unless we go back to 1918 and what happened with those events. But at this juncture, I'm very pleased with the way that this city is moving, and we are moving forward very strong. On a completely different subject, I'm very pleased to announce that for the 3rd time, I was reelected by the cities of Aliso Viejo, Laguna Beach, Dana Point, San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano, and our great city of Laguna Niguel to serve on the Orange County Board of Directors for OCOG. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Congratulations. And I just want to note that Thursday is National Prayer Day. So we don't need to wait to Thursday, though. So make sure you do then. And sounds like there's kind of a theme going on. So if you will bear with me, I appreciate it. And if I can't see, because I had tears in my eyes, give me a moment here. Once again, I want to start off by thanking all of those that have been working tirelessly to keep our community running. I also want to thank all of our local businesses that selflessly shut down their businesses for the safety and good of our community. You too are heroes. I've listened to your stories over the past weeks. I've seen the sacrifices you have made. Closing your doors had to be one of the hardest things you've ever had to do, especially with the uncertainty of not knowing if and when you would be able to reopen. Last week, the City of Laguna Niguel sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors and to Governor Newsom regarding the reopening of our businesses, and that we have further obligations to do everything possible to protect our respective community economically. We've adhered to the stay-at-home orders and additional county, state, and federal recommendations and guidelines that have slowed the spread of COVID-19. By any measure, these efforts have been successful thus far. According to Orange County Healthcare Agency, hospitals throughout Orange County have been operating below capacity with nearly 50% of ICU beds currently available. So far, Governor has only taken into consideration the physical coronavirus cases when determining whether or not it is safe to reopen our state. Why isn't the mental and economic health of our community just as important? The D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Service in Southern California reported that in February, her staff took 22 calls on suicide and disaster helpline related to coronavirus. In the month of March, that number soared to 1,800 calls, which is more than 8,000% increase. And let's not forget the number of cases due to domestic abuse have surged, as well as the reported cases in severe child abuse cases, and odds are that these numbers will continue to rise the longer we go. We are constantly told by the governor that his decisions are data-driven. So here are the dates. Orange County has a population of 3,200,000, which is larger than 22 other states. Our reported deaths today in Orange County are 61. That's about 0.002% of the population. In Laguna Niguel, our numbers of cases have remained flat at 32 in a city with a population of 67,000. That's about 0.004 of our population having been reporting having the virus. So when it comes to making the decision to reopen, we have to look not just at coronavirus cases, which are low, but we also need to consider the mental and economic damages that are occurring to our residents every day our businesses stay closed. For those that have concerns about the pace we reopen, data is showing that cities will naturally open. You're not going to see a rush of consumers filling the stores. There are still those individuals who will continue to stay at home. Those are that over the age of 65 or those with underlying conditions. It is going to take some people time to feel safe to go out and shop, even with businesses exercising proper safety precautions to protect employees and customers. I believe it's time to safely reopen so that those that feel safe can venture out and start gaining a sense of normalcy. The governor's decision to reopen our business cannot be a one-size-fits-all. The data doesn't warrant it. I also question his reasoning on what he has deemed as being a non-essential business compared to an essential business. Ask any small business owner, and they will tell you that their business is essential. Why? Because their business allows them to pay for necessities such as food, medicine, utilities, diapers, clothing, and many more. To our businesses and to those employed by them, please know that we hear your cries. We feel your frustration. We will continue to do everything we can to get your businesses safely back up and running. As I conclude, I want to remind all the local, county, and state leaders, we were elected to be servants of the people, to represent their voices, not to rule over them. Our founding fathers created the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to ensure the rights of the people were protected in good times and bad times. Remember, your constitutional rights cannot be forfeited under the guise of public safety. Thank you. We'll move on over to City Manager.
Yes, I have a brief PowerPoint presentation. I want to share with you a COVID-19 report on how we've been responding, planning, preparing, and restoring the community. So I just want to briefly go over a few points. We're responding and answering questions of residents, listening to them, listening to business owners that share their thoughts, their fears in this time of uncertainty, and sharing available resources. We've, as you know, we've established our economic recovery team to assist our businesses who are proactively contacting them, providing them important information on federal and state resources. We've relaxed banner requirements, and to help, and again, share every resource that we can, to help get them through this. We've also, as you heard my report earlier, taken extensive measures to address the fiscal impacts to our government and are actively seeking reimbursement for that. We're planning for the reopening of our facilities to the public and to staff, and analyzing every service and every operation that we have to ensure that we continue to provide quality services with proper safety measures in place when the time comes that we're allowed to reopen to do so. We're planning for our budget for next year with the significant loss in revenue and what that means to us. We are planning to reintegrate staff into the facilities and the operations while ensuring everyone's safety. We're preparing our facilities and our operations. Facility modifications are occurring. We're developing new procedures, modifying operations, and ordering supplies. We're communicating constantly. Every day there are changes with this pandemic, and we're continuing to communicate the important information with the community. And we're preparing our staff work areas for the reentry of our staff back into our facilities. And we're restoring. We're gearing up to bring back city programs and services and restore things that are so important to this community with all the safety precautions. And to bring back our businesses and continuing to work with all of them to help them open again and to thrive. An example of that is our economic development toolkit that we have available on our website. And restoring the community to have our vital revenue sources that continue to provide these important programs and services to the community. So I just wanted to share that with you, a little insight of all the work that we're doing. And that was important to share that with you this evening. I also want to thank the council very much for all your kind comments. It is Public Service Recognition Week. So I want to thank all of you for the recognition and the thanks from the bottom of my heart. As you all know, serving and being a city manager is something that is a calling in my life, and I feel deep in my soul. And I love it every day. And when I say it's an honor and privilege to serve, it is an honor and privilege to serve this amazing and remarkable community. But I don't do it alone. I do it with an amazing and remarkable staff who are continuing, and especially at this moment, have shown us what it is to be a public servant with the dedicated hours, selfless sacrifice that they have given away from their families and doing whatever is asked of them, sometimes way outside their job descriptions, to help this community during this difficult time. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank them publicly for that.
Thank you. With this said, we're going to adjourn at 8:10. May God bless you and your family.